0.
Now, here is America's eager astronaut, Randall Schuler.
Greetings again, fellow space nerds, and welcome to the second pathfinding episode of the new Space Nerds live broadcast. Like our first episode last week, this is a dress rehearsal run simply to demonstrate technical aspects of our streaming, but we're getting closer to routine streaming every day. First, let's review the latest about the launch status of Starship. A tweet from SpaceX on April 6th following the successful stacking of Starship 24 on Booster 7 said that the team was working towards a launch dress rehearsal the week of the 9th. Subsequent information indicates that the WDR is now set for Tuesday. The tweet then said that the first integrated flight test would be approximately a week later, pending the FAA license regulatory approval. Note that this tweet substituted the word integrated for orbital. Parenthetically, the Starship vehicle will not enter a true orbit of the Earth and may not even reach orbital velocity, although SpaceX has not revealed details of the planned trajectory. We're sure that astronomer and orbital policeman Jonathan McDowell wants to know. The FAA Current Operations Plan Advisory webpage on Sunday morning shows a launch attempt on Monday the 17th, with time listed as TBD. Earlier advisories listed a time from 7 to 11 a.m. Central, with backup dates from the 18th to the 21st. So the guessing game continues, but we do know that with the final scaffolding removed from the launch mount, Stage 0 is ready for launch. And in breaking news on this Easter Sunday, just a few hours ago, Musk tweeted, "Starship is ready for launch, awaiting regulatory approval." This raises a number of interesting questions, since ready for launch would apparently indicate that the planned dress rehearsal or wet countdown of whatever it was planned to be that had road closures slated for Tuesday might be canceled. This appears to be the opinion of Chris Bergen at NSF in his tweet. Now, if that's the case, FAA approval may be the only obstacle, with one small exception. The flight termination system of the rocket is in uncertain status. Observers had believed that a final readiness of the FTS to arm the explosive package has not been done, and there had been considerable speculation that the vehicle would have to be destacked and Starship 24 brought to the ground again so that technicians could perhaps pull pins or make other arrangements within the FTS package to provide the final launch readiness. So that is another factor. So we're waiting to see, A, do they have a dress rehearsal this week? B, is the FTS ready or is further work necessary on the rocket for that purpose? And finally, when does the FAA issue its launch license? Some had also speculated that Musk and the team would be ready for launch as soon as 24 hours after the launch license was issued. Another factor to be considered. And one final hurdle speculated on also is that various environmental groups, including possibly PETA, could file an action legally and try to get a court to issue an injunction delaying or preventing the launch. This is something that we are not fully aware of. We do not have any firm information that anyone has such a lawsuit pending. And of course, we have no idea whether a court would act on this expeditiously or whether it would involve a further delay. But these are all the factors that we're looking at. But things are heating up dramatically, and it does appear that something is going to happen very soon, so stay tuned. In other news this week, the crew of Soyuz MS-23 took a joyride, not really, in their new spaceship, relocating the vehicle from the Poisk module in the space-facing side of the ISS to the Prishal module on the Earth-facing side. Cosmonaut Sergei Prokopyev, the Soyuz commander, manually flew the Russian craft, with cosmonaut Patelin to his left in the descent module and NASA astronaut Frank Rubio to his right. It was the 26th spacecraft relocation in the history of the station, making room for the arrival of the Progress 84 cargo ship later this year. It also frees up the airlock for a series of Russian spacewalks later this month and in May. Here is a brief excerpt of the maneuver with some unusually clear and beautiful images of the capsule and the Earth.
The Soyuz is currently about 20 meters away from the Poisk module port from which it separated just a few minutes ago. This view, once this roll maneuver is complete, Prokopyev then will fly the Soyuz in a radial fly-around to a point directly in front of the station and then below the station, maintaining that 40 to 60 meter separation distance.
Copy.
The fly-around is now complete. The Soyuz precisely aligning itself now with the Prishal module in advance of a short period of station keeping and then final approach for redocking.
Copy.
And you see the Prishal docking port now in the field of view from the cross-aired engineering camera on the Soyuz MS-23.
And you can continue at the rate of 0.2.3 up to a 20-meter range, and then audible copy. The commands are armed.
Everything continuing to go very smoothly with the relocation of the Soyuz MS-23 that you see in the field of view. In the center section of the Soyuz, the descent module, Prokopyev confirming 18 meters now separating Soyuz from Prishal. Soyuz and the International Space Station flying over northern Mongolia.
Sergei, please perform station keeping at 3 meters, and the target should be less than 3 squares at that point, and continue with the alignment.
Soyuz now flying over southeastern China, moving from northwest to southeast. About to move inside 10 meters from Prishal.
The range is 10 meters. Copy, 10 meters.
There will be a very brief period of station keeping. One more check of the precise alignment of that forward docking probe with Prishal. As the station and Soyuz fly 260 miles over Osaka, Japan.
Standing by.
A great view of the MS-23 spacecraft, now just 2 meters away from contact and capture. Standing by for docking. Contact confirmed. Capture confirmed. Docking occurring at 4:22 a.m. Central Time, 5:22 a.m. Eastern Time.
Congratulations with the successful redocking. Thank you. Please accept our congratulations as well. I'm activating the translational and controller. Copy.
The docking probe now retracting to form a hard mate between Soyuz and Prishal. It was a 37-minute transit from the Poisk module to the Prishal module, a flawless execution by Soyuz commander Sergei Prokopyev, along with his Soyuz crewmates Dmitry Petelin of Roscosmos and Frank Rubio of NASA.
Notable. A great job. So my best regards to you guys, and I guess I'll talk to you next time during the progress operations. Good luck with all. Talk to you next time.
The latest SpaceX launch had an unusual twist. The Falcon 9 rocket launch from Cape Canaveral on Friday carried an Intelsat communications satellite into geostationary transfer orbit for its North and Central American customers. But hosted on the satellite was an important NASA Earth science instrument known as the Tropospheric Emissions Monitoring of Pollution, or TEMPO. From a fixed geostationary orbit above the equator, TEMPO will be the first space-based instrument to measure air quality over North America hourly during the daytime and at spatial regions of several square miles, far better than existing limits of about 100 square miles in the U.S. TEMPO data will play an important role in the scientific analysis of pollution, including studies of rush hour pollution, the potential for improved air quality alerts, the effects of lightning on ozone, the movement of pollution from forest fires and volcanoes, and even the effects of fertilizer application. TEMPO will also form part of an air quality satellite virtual constellation that will track pollution around the Northern Hemisphere. South Korea's Geostationary Environment Monitoring Spectrometer, the first instrument in the constellation, launched into space in 2020 on the Korean Aerospace Research Institute GeoCompSat-2B satellite, is measuring pollution over Asia. The European Space Agency's Sentinel-4, scheduled to launch in 2024, will make measurements over Europe and North Africa. Here are the highlights of the launch.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition, engines full power, and lift off with Intelsat 40E. Go Intelsat, go Falcon. Vehicle is pitching downrange. M1D chamber pressure nominal.
If you're just joining us, those gorgeous views on your screen mean that Falcon 9 has successfully lifted off from Pad 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. During
nominal power and telemetry.
They call out there that nominal power and telemetry for the vehicle. During this phase, which is called ascent, we tilt the engines. The technical term for this is called gimbaling, and that turns the rocket horizontally in what we call a gravity turn.
Falcon 9 is supersonic.
There's a call out that Falcon 9 is now traveling faster than the speed of sound. During this period, we're still going up, but we're also heading horizontally away from the launch pad.
Max Q.
Just moments ago, we throttled down in preparation for Max Q, which is the period of maximum aerodynamic pressure that the vehicle will see on ascent. So that's what's happening right now. The rocket typically needs to go about 17,500 miles per hour horizontally in order to avoid being pulled back to Earth and reach orbit. Now we're going to have 3 events coming up in quick succession, starting with main engine cutoff, stage separation, and second engine start 1. Main engine cutoff, or MECO, is the point during the flight where we shut down the 9 Merlin 1D engines on the first stage.
You can see landing burn has begun there on that screen.
Stage 2 FTS is saved.
You can see those grid fins working hard to steer it back to the drone ship for its landing.
Nominal orbit insertion.
Great call out there indicating we've got...
Stage 1 landing leg deploy. Stage 1 landing confirmed.
There you can see on your screen an amazing view as always. That landing marks SpaceX's 184th recovery of an orbital class rocket, including first stage landings for Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy. As a reminder, our customer for today's mission is Intelsat, and their IS-40E payload is a geosynchronous communication satellite that also features a NASA payload, TEMPO, or Tropospheric Emissions Monitoring Pollution. The payload will be operated by Intelsat, but TEMPO is a partnership between NASA and the Smithsonian Institution's Smithsonian Astrophysical Observatory.
Payload separation confirmed.
A beautiful view there, as you can see, and as we heard called out, successful confirmation of the Intelsat 40E and NASA Smithsonian TEMPO payload.
In today's Daily Hopper cartoon, the chopsticks love hugging Starship 24 so much they don't want to let go and finish the stacking operation. So that's why the stacking took so long. Aha! Now for our quote of the day, and stay tuned for some spectacular Webb telescope imagery.
Information is not power. If information were power, then librarians would be the most powerful people on the planet. Bruce Sterling, sci-fi writer, 1994.
From our just wonderful space telescope, two great new releases. The first is a new view of the fascinating planet Uranus. Captured by Webb's near-infrared camera NearCam on February 6th, it reveals stunning views of the planet's rings. The planet displays a blue hue in this representative color image. On the right side of the planet, there's an area of brightening at the pole facing the sun, known as a polar cap. This cap is unique to Uranus because it is the only planet in the solar system tilted on its side, which causes its extreme seasons. A new aspect of the polar cap revealed by Webb is a subtle brightening near the Uranian North Pole. At the edge of the polar cap lies a bright cloud, as well as a few fainter extended features just northward of the cap's edge, and a second very bright cloud is seen at the planet's left limb. Such clouds are typical for Uranus in infrared wavelengths, and likely are connected to storm activity. The second released image from JWST comes from a much further away. The explosion of a star is a dramatic event, but the remains that the star leaves behind can be even more dramatic. A new mid-infrared image provides one stunning example. It shows the supernova remnant Cassiopeia A, Cas-A, created by a stellar explosion 340 years ago from Earth's perspective. The image displays vivid colors and intricate structures begging to be examined more closely. Cas-A is the youngest known remnant from an exploding massive star in our galaxy, offering astronomers an opportunity to perform stellar forensics to understand the star's death. A roughly square image is rotated clockwise about 45 degrees, with solid black in the corners on the top left, top right, bottom left, and bottom right. Within the image is a circular-shaped nebula with complex structure. On the circle's exterior, particularly at the top and left of the image, lie curtains of material glowing orange. Interior to this outer shell lies a ring of mottled filaments of bright pink, studded with clumps and knots. At center right, a greenish loop extends from the right side of the ring into the central cavity. Translucent wisps of blue, green, and red appear throughout the image. The striking colors in which infrared light is translated into visible light wavelengths hold a wealth of scientific information the team is just beginning to tease out. On the bubble's exterior, particularly at the top and left, lie curtains of material appearing orange and red due to emission from warm dust. This marks where ejected material from the exploded star is ramming into surrounding circumstellar gas and dust. Interior to this outer shell lie mottled filaments of bright pink, studded with clumps and knots. This represents material from the star itself, which is shining due to a mix of various heavy elements such as oxygen, argon, and neon, as well as dust emission. The stellar material can also be seen as fainter wisps near the cavity's interior. Most prominently, a loop represented in green extends across the right side of the central cavity. It's been nicknamed the Green Monster in honor of Fenway Park in Boston. Among the science questions it may help answer: where does cosmic dust come from? Observations have found that even very young galaxies in the early universe are suffused with massive quantities of dust. It's difficult to explain the origins of this dust without invoking supernovae, which spew large quantities of heavy elements, the building blocks of dust, across space. Supernovae like the one that formed Cas-A are crucial for life as we know it. They spread elements like the calcium in our bones and the iron in our blood across interstellar space, seeding new generations of stars and planets. The Cas-A remnant spans about 10 light years and is located 11,000 light years away. Until our next show, ad in explorata toward the unknown in the measureless arena of space. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you soon with our next episode.